this pain away. I've prayed before.
All right, Christmas tips, part 2, doing little things. One of the things that Patrick Carnes talks about is having a recovery first aid kit for emergencies. And in his book, Facing Addiction and Facing the Shadow, he talks about things like a fire drill, where we know we've been triggered into that cycle, either impaired thinking or core beliefs being triggered. We've gone into fantasy, but that sense of obsession and compulsion is active. So what do you do to sort of have a little first aid kit on you? Here's a couple of tips. Firstly, one, keep those symbols of recovery that you get. What have I got here? Robbie Abels, she gave me her 30-year chip when I just turned 30. I've got a 30-year one from NA that friends of mine from NA have given me. So, I've got one on my key ring that I take around. So it's like, have those little mementos that you get that remind you that you're in recovery and it's really worthwhile. Pictures and mementos of loved ones. So these days with telephones, screensavers, things like that remind you of the things that you will lose. One of the sayings of the slogans in AA is think this thing through. Okay, so if I go and do this, what happens next? What happens next? What happens next? Because sometimes we just go into that euphoric recall and we go, look, we'll be fine, let's just do this thing. But if we go, okay, now if I use, then I'll have to go and hide, and if I go and hide, and etc., etc., etc. So think it through. Like sometimes this time of year, I have a really clear memory of Christmas morning, walking back along Orange Grove Road out near Liverpool in the hot sun, with my going out sort of jacket and boots and hungover, trying to get home for Christmas. And just having to walk and being defeated and beaten up. And that's what a drink at Christmas means to me. Not a party with friends or a nice cool beer on an afternoon. I remember that moment because there was nothing fun about that. It was real hell. Having spiritual items on you. Sometimes people carry things. I mean, I wear this green stone that Vivian Hutchins gave me from round his neck. He's a social ecologist and just an all-round amazing man in New Zealand. And a friend of mine, Warragamba Pete Bainbridge, he carved this out of Australian hardwood for me. They're little mementos that remind you that you're in recovery. Copies of quotes and inspirational sayings. Like in my office, I have a few of these things that mean a lot to me. William H. Murray, the quote around making a decision. Until you make a decision, nothing can really happen, but all providence will sort of, unforeseen good will come your way once you make a decision. So having little quotes, things like the third step prayer, NA's third step prayer and AA's third step prayer. NA's one is, God take my will in my life and show me how to live. God, relieve me the bondage of self from AA. The 11-step prayer at St. Francis. Little things, the serenity prayer is a radical acceptance tool. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, the wisdom to know the difference. I remember once needing to say that prayer from Stanmore in Sydney out to the Meccano satellites at Liverpool just to get away from a situation that was no good to me, and I said it over and over and over to get me home. I just remember in the early days is do whatever it takes. Letters from friends or families or a letter to self. Now, one of the things that Patrick Carnes talks about in Facing Addiction is a letter to yourself that you keep either in an electrical form on your device, on your phone, or old school in your wallet or purse. And it's one of those letters that says, look, if you're reading this, you're in trouble. And it's a letter that you write really in early recovery around what you've got to lose if you relapse, because it's really fresh. And the things you've got to gain by staying clean. And if you're reading this, it's time to reach out that you're slipping or sliding. And so that letter to self can be an important tool. Phone numbers of peers, sponsors, mentors, and people that really believe in your recovery. Now, peers are fantastic in early recovery because they really get the dilemma. They're crazy too. They've got to go to 2 meetings a day like you. They've got to make a stack outreach calls like you. But they're fickle like us too. They can go up and down really quickly. So in early recovery, stick with the strength. Get some numbers of people with time up. People that most likely, if you're ringing them, if they're in a hard time, they're working a program. They're ringing their sponsor. And I just think the phone it becomes the greatest asset. Patrick Carnes says we need to get over our reluctance to use the phone. sometimes when you think of, why would someone answer the phone to us? Because someone answered the phone to them, and that's how this thing works. I heard it said by Trevor, who started Foundation House, that the whole reason these 12-step fellowships work is that we're all not stuffed on the same day. So the phones are I think the most important thing. Recordings of meetings. I mean, smartphones these days can be our enemy, or they can be our absolute sort of guiding force. YouTube, podcasts. A lady that had just been starting to work with just got a 30-day chip the other day. She was so stoked, and she's been listening to a podcast for women because she really needed to hear that message for women that were alcoholics. Apps like In the Rooms. As a client just put me onto that, a couple of days ago. I've already signed up for it. It's like 12-step meetings online, NA Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. The SLA meeting, a friend has just put me onto the SLA meeting from the UK, which is 6 a.m. Australian time. Find those meetings, and get online, find out how to do it. Sometimes, I don't know how to do that stuff. Well, we learn how to get on. You know what I mean? If you're a foodie, you'll learn how to get that food you needed. So this is where, we're going to act like this thing can kill us. And this, they say about denial, this is the only disease that tells you don't have a disease. So if you can, get access, because sometimes thinking leads to drinking, as they say in AA. So find something that you can put into this that's positive. And the other thing, of course, is carry around a meetings list or an app that tells you. You can get apps these days that tell you exactly how far away the closest meeting is of any description. And I suppose the other thing too is those mindful apps these days. I'm a big fan of the Calm app. It has a little sort of spot check for a minute, that just for a minute you get really mindful and do deep and sort of focused breathing, and within that 60 seconds your heart rate's gone down, you're more relaxed and more focused. Do what you need to do. So if you can, hope that's been helpful. Emergency First Aid Kit for people in recovery. Merry Christmas.